Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's BornFree here. I have something awesome for you today. We're going to be talking to the Street Fighter statue collectibles company, Kinetiquettes, and we're going to reveal a stunning new innovation in Street Fighter statues, which I think you're all going to love. I'm talking to Adib, the creative director of Kinetiquettes, who's in Singapore, and I think it must be like 2 or 3 a.m. there right now. So thank you, Adib. Can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, so other than being the creative director, I'm actually one of the co-founders of the studio. There's three of us who are artists who founded the company, and also another friend of ours who's sort of the finance guy for us. Yeah, so we started out like last year, and started out with the Street Fighter license, and since then we've got new licenses and also started doing collectible art prints as well. So yeah, that's who we are.
Okay, so what is that thing over your top left shoulder?
That's our new upcoming M. Bison quarter scale statue. And it's not just a quarter scale statue, but it actually levitates. I think you can see it.
That's so awesome. And that's what we're going to talk about later on in this video because it looks stunning. And I know we have some really great footage of it levitating. So before we get on to that, I guess I wanted to ask you about the recent Ken statue, which is actually part of a bigger diorama called Battle of the Brothers. That Ken statue was featured on Event Hubs, and it went viral. And I guess a lot of people saw it. So can you talk about that statue and the actual bigger diorama, and also explain why do you think that resonated so well with Street Fighter fans?
Well, one thing about us is that we try to sort of push ourselves with every project that we do. Like, if you ask me now how I think about our first statue, I think it can be a lot better. But yeah, so with the Ken statue, we wanted to sort of push the limits a little bit more in terms of posing and also the sculpt itself. So we were actually working with a very well-renowned sculptor called Thiago Provin. He's from Brazil, and he's a very, very talented sculptor. And I think that's one of the reasons why the statue was so well received, was because of the pose and how good the sculpt is. And not to mention it's Alpha Ken, so who doesn't like Alpha Ken?
That's true. People do love Alpha Ken, but you can get him wrong, and I think you guys really, really, really nailed it, and particularly the pose as well. Because I will talk a little bit about the philosophy of the company in regards to movement, which is evident in your name. But tell me, how does Ken? He can be a standalone statue, right? And I believe he's what is it, 1/5 or 1/6 scale? 1/6 scale, and that's because he actually fits into a much larger diorama called Battle of the Brothers. Could you talk about that diorama?
Yeah, so this Battle of the Brothers diorama was actually inspired by the artwork that our art director Kiet actually, yeah. So he did an initial 25th anniversary artwork previously, which sort of inspired this diorama, where in the artwork you can actually see Goki fighting Ryu and Ken. So we sort of took it to another level where we thought, there's Goki, there's Ken, Ryu, and what's missing is obviously Goken, because it's especially with the recent the amazing Assassin's Fist live action series, we thought like we should give people, other than the regular Ken and Ryu, bring back some of the alpha characters and create this diorama which involves, basically the brothers. I mean, of course, Goken and Goki are brothers, but Ken and Ryu are kind of, non-blood related brothers who've grown up, trained together and all that. So yeah, and so we've made it such that not only Ken, Ryu, Goken, and Goki are standalone statues, but dioramas and connectable dioramas being our sort of specialty. We made him such that you can interchange these characters, have Ryu versus Ken, Ken versus Goken, Ken versus Goki. You can have Ryu Ken versus Goken or Ryu Ken versus Goki. So there's multiple ways, and you can combine all these characters and dioramas. So yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And then I believe you on the Goki statue, there are switch out arms.
Yeah. So for that, we did something unique because Goki's stance is sort of blocking Ken's and Ryu's attack. But of course, we wanted to work as a standalone statue as well. So we made it such that you can switch out the arms and create his kata stance, which he does before the Raging Demon, obviously. So yeah, so we sort of, as I said, like try to push the boundaries of not just having connectable dioramas, but multiple options, and work both ways as a connectable diorama and also as a standalone statue.
That's so cool. So that's still very much in production, starting off with Ken. Do you know who will be the next character? Have you decided yet? I mean,
yeah.
out of the Battle of the Brothers diorama.
Yeah, so we obviously have Ken first, and we're gonna have Ryu, and then it's gonna be Goken, and then Goki.
Save the best till last. I'm a bit biased. I'm a bit biased on that one. Okay, so just tell me a little bit. Like, so basically, your statues appear to have like a certain style to them, right? Which is this. It feels like it's a dynamic movement. Like, is that your philosophy?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, like, we've worked, me and Kid and the other artists. We've been in the animation and film industry. And especially me, myself, and Kid being animators, we like to do characters in movement, in action poses. And we also sometimes like wonder, like, there's not enough statues in action poses. So, that's sort of what we believe is sort of our unique selling point, I guess you can say that, is that we try to have characters in movement, in action, especially Street Fighter characters. You want them to see them doing their moves and in very action poses. So yeah, I mean, even before we set up the studio, when I was doing freelance sculpting for clients, and Kid was doing artworks and all that. Before we even set up the studio, we were actually doing collaborative works, and where we would sort of design statues in dynamic poses, and I guess you can say that you won't see us doing much museum kind of poses, because it's sort of in our blood as animators to have things in a nice flow, in movement, in action. So yeah, that's sort of our thought process when it comes to doing any kind of artwork.
Well, I can't wait for that Battle of the Brothers diorama. It's going to be huge, I think, when you put 3 characters together, or even just 2. It's going to be awesome. Talking of dioramas, your first diorama out of the gate was Evil Ryu versus Oni. And of course, Oni is an original Street Fighter 4 character. And Evil Ryu, you actually chose to go with the alt costume with the long hair, the sort of hobo Ryu, I guess. Now, that's quite a bold move for a statue company to start out with, right? And the reason I say that is because most go with the safety of Street Fighter 2, and they go with like Ryu and Ken and Goki, and that's sort of it. So I guess I just want to know, why did you make that choice?
Yeah, well, I think looking back at it, like that choice of making that version of Evil Ryu with that alternate costume kind of shows how we approach when it comes to selecting the characters that we want to make. So that costume was chosen just for the fact that we love it. We really think it's cool, and well, I mean, of course, even though it's the alternate costume, you'll realize that we've chosen Oni to have its default costume, right? So So whenever it comes to choosing the character that we want to make, it has to be something. It has to be a character that we love and we want to, make into a statue. So the first thing that come when it comes, it sort of applies to even when it comes to choosing our licenses. I mean, we chose Street Fighter because we love Street Fighter, and whatever we do, we want to enjoy the process and put our heart and passion into it. So um, I guess, I mean, as a business, of course, you want to make money, you want to put out the more popular characters and whatnot. But first and foremost for us is, okay, do we want to bring this character to life? Do we love this character? Do we believe that this character doesn't get enough attention or enough um, uh, love, as you can say, like, in terms of collectibles? So yeah, that's pretty much our thought process when it comes to selecting specific characters.
That's great, to be honest. So Evil Ryu is actually obviously the first statue at the gates, but the next one that's currently available is Oni, right? And he fits in as part of the diorama, Oni versus Evil Ryu. In a way, that's another risk because like Oni Street Fighter 4 is well known, but it's still not like a Street Fighter character. So how are you feeling about that, like as a diorama?
Yeah, I mean, of course, having done Evil Ryu first, we thought, I mean, what other character is better than Oni to be, facing off against? So that's why, we chose him, and we wanted to make them work both as standalone and create a great diorama with them both connected. So yeah, I mean, again, the same thing. Like for us, Oni, we know Oni is not as popular as Goki or Ryu Ken or all the or Chun-Li, for example. So again, it's all about representing what we want to put out there. So since we chose Evil Ryu at first, we had to sort of go with Oni as well. Again, with the fact that we just want to see a statue of Oni.
That's true because there's no Oni statues out there or Evil Ryu in all costumes. So
Mhm.
you're definitely offering something that people have been asking for but haven't been able to get their hands on. So it feels like you're constantly pushing the boundaries with these with these statues, and particularly when we get onto M Bison, that will be very obvious. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and or the guys and your history with Street Fighter? Did you play a lot of the games growing up? Um, and I believe that you are, in some ways, have been involved with the fighting game community out there in Asia. Can you talk
Mhm.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, so well, I've been playing um, fighting games since as long as I can remember. But to be honest, I really got into Street Fighter after Street Fighter 4 because I was more of a King of Fighters guy since in my teens. So, playing 94, 95, 96, all those King of KOF games, those SNK games, Samurai Showdown, Last Blade, and all that. So I actually grew up playing a lot of those fighting games, and in the arcade specifically. I still remember the time when I used to go with my friends and go to different areas in my city trying to find challengers, because KOF has a 3v3 team. So I used to play a character, Kyo to be specific, and then my other two buddies would play different characters. So we would just take our team and go different places to play these fighting games. So I kind of grew up playing fighting games. And of course, when some of them started coming to consoles like PlayStation and Sega Saturn, and we were also playing that at home. So I guess Street Fighter 4 sort of rejuvenated that love for fighting games because, as you know, like fighting games were sort of dying down before Street Fighter came into the scene. Came back into the scene to be specific. So Street Fighter 4 sort of sparked that passion. Um, yeah. So and since then, like fighting games have become big again, which is great. So yeah, like the guys also played similar to me, like played some sort of fighting games growing up. So we have that inner love for Street Fighter and fighting games in general.
I think that also ties into the idea of actually using their real moves in the statues, which is awesome because really that's what the game is all about. It's people want to see, it's one of the reasons I think Assassin's Fist was so popular, apart from having a pretty awesome story, but also they they tried to represent the game as much as they could in the fight sequences, which was very much appreciated. Now tell me about the FGC, because my understanding is you're involved and you're a contributing member. Sorry, member, but you're a contributing sponsor or company in regards to the FGC. I recently saw your statue on stream with Z. He had it in the commentary box. In fact, I think he just did that because he really liked it. But let me know a little bit about your involvement.
Yeah, so we've actually sponsored a few events. We started out with the Team Spookies NLBC, the weekly tournament that happened, and we actually gave away a Evil Ryu statue to the winner of the 100th NLBC, and Smug won that. And also last year we sponsored the NCR, which Daigo won. So actually Daigo has a Evil Ryu at home, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So so we're constantly sort of we're also working with the UK guys, the Unequal Media guys. So we do sponsor some weekly events and some other events. So we'll actually be sponsoring the upcoming Asia CPTA Asia Finals at GameStart Asia. So the winner of the CPTA will actually walk away with a Ken statue. So well, not walk away.
Wait, what? They're gonna get the Ken statue.
But not walk away. Literally, he will be shipped to him later. But yeah, he will win a copy of our upcoming Ken statue.
All right, I was gonna say, because if it's ready, I need it.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Ken statue, yeah, we will be actually making him available for pre-order very soon.
Very soon, but in the statue world, very soon could mean 3 years, or like 1 week, or 3 months. Like you got a better time. You got a better time.
All I can say for now is that we're hoping to open our pre-orders before the end of the year.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see it like fully fleshed out. Like it's a very exciting work in progress. So let's get on to the meat. Let's get on to Levitating M. Bison. I mean, basically, you appear to be a very ambitious company with a statue that levitates. I've only seen a few out there, and they're usually like spaceships and stuff. Nothing that I'm interested in. But this is Street Fighter, and certain characters in Street Fighter levitate, and M. Bison certainly does that. And so we're going to show some footage, and maybe you can talk about what we're seeing, and then you can talk a little bit about how this came about.
Okay, so so we originally thought of like having levitation as a part of as a kind of display for statues when we first saw the levitation technology. So speaking of which, it's actually using magnetic levitation. So it does need a sort of power source to sort of levitate the statue. And we first did a prototype, so-called concept prototype using Dalsim, which actually we made a video of, and people were really curious about, like, will there be a Dalsim statue? And in fact, we do plan to eventually have a levitating Dalsim statue, but we thought, what would be even cooler is to have, an M. Bison levitating statue. So that's why we sort of went back and chose to do the boss of Shadilu, and the reason why also this levitating line is quarter scale is because polystone. Our statues are made of polystone, right? So polystone has a lot of weight, and so hence, in order to be able to carry that weight, we need a bigger magnet, and in order to be able to sort of conceal the magnet within the statue, you need a bigger statue. So it's like a chicken and egg kind of thing. So you're trying to make the statue bigger, but at the same time you're increasing the weight. So that's also one of the reasons why it took us some time for us to get to this stage where we can actually show you that it's working. Of course, it's not just levitating; it comes with its own display box with lights, and of course you can see it's purple lights to represent the psycho power that he wields. And there's also this added feature of fans in below the display, so it sort of waves his cape around as well to give it some movement. So yeah, I mean, it was a long road since we first revealed the concept, but yeah, we're finally here, and in fact, we can actually, I can actually say that we'll be also opening pre-orders for him very soon.
Really? I'm pretty interested in that. So tell us so obviously Bison has a different look now in Street Fighter 5. This is based on which Street Fighter is this based on? Is it an amalgamation? Is it Street Fighter 2 Alpha? Like
he's sort of well. Speaking of the look, actually, we originally thought of doing it more of a alpha version of him, but then we sort of decided, okay, let's make him more closer to Street Fighter 4. But it's not specifically Street Fighter 4, but it's just a mix of the look of M Bison and our own kind of style infused in it a little bit. Um, Speaking of look, we actually wanted to have multiple options of swap out head sculpts. So like, of course, other than him being all bossy and levitating, we also wanted to incorporate his signature grin and smile, the evil smile. So we're still looking into that. Maybe we might be able to offer that as a switch out head option as well. But we also, I mean, I personally believe that the current head sculpt kind of represents that badassery of him, and with him levitating, it sort of goes well with that. So,
well, I mean, I gotta say, I'm like super excited about it. I've not seen anything like it other than your original video, which is the prototype of Dalsim. And there seems like there's a lot of, if this does well, then it seems like there's a lot of options for levitating characters in the future. So I'm hoping this really turns out well. It's looking superb, I have to say. So that was the worldwide exclusive. Now let's talk about a couple of other things which are really cool. You've got a Hugo Poison Alex diorama in the works, right?
yeah.
Can you talk about that? Why did that come about? Why did you choose those characters? Again, it's like characters that nobody makes. Well, there's a couple of them are out there, but certainly nobody has done something like this, which makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, again, I personally use Hugo in SF4. So USF4 to be specific. So I thought, I love this character, and why not make a statue of him? But of course, he's not that, obviously not as popular as the other characters that we all know of. So we thought, in order, I mean, when you think of Hugo, you obviously think of Poison, So in order to sort of improve his chances of being, received well, we added Poison to the diorama as well. But of course, we have to make it a connectable diorama, right? So who else to face off other than Alex himself? So the diorama is basically two dioramas which are connectable. So the first diorama is Hugo and Poison, and of course it can be displayed as a standalone statue as well. And then of course you have the connectable Alex. So here we did something different because Alex literally connects to Hugo's shoulders. So unlike our other dioramas where the connection is on the base, this is actually literally Alex grabbing onto Hugo's shoulders. So of course, having done that, we have to make sure that Alex is sort of displayable on his own. So we had to create a base where he can be connected to as a standalone statue. But to be honest, actually, that like for all the concepts that we do, concepts are pretty loose for us because you'll notice even for our previous statues, whatever concept we have shown is just a guide for us when it comes to the actual statue, because along the way we will sort of change things, improve things. We sort of noticed that with even the Battle of the Brothers diorama, where our concept, the pose for Ken in the concept is kind of different from what ended up in the actual in the final statue. So we sort of always improve things and change things out. And of course, we listen to the collectors, the fans. If they don't like anything, or if they're liking something, we sort of try to reflect that in our work as well. And it's funny that you mentioned that we incorporate game moves into our statues, and people like to see that. But we also at the same time approach it kind of differently, because we don't exactly copy what we see in the game, because or we don't even exactly copy artwork per se. And the reason why it's so dynamic when it comes to or flexible to say when it comes to when these statues are sculpted and posed and all that is because that artwork and what you see in the game is being designed to be seen from a particular angle. Like even for Street Fighter 4, it's a 3D game, but you're looking at it from a 2D perspective, right? Same for any artwork that you do. Artwork is done in a 2D perspective, so it's a 2D artwork. So we can't exactly copy everything exactly. So we're sort of usually inspired by the artwork rather than one-to-one copying of what we see. So that's why, like, if for example we were to do Hadoken pose, we wouldn't exactly copy it from the game, but rather get inspired by it and look at it from every possible angle, because it's going to be a 3D sculpt, right? So a 3D sculpt has to sort of survive the scrutiny from different angles, all 360 degrees basically. So we sort of approach it in that way. And as we sculpt, we may realize like, oh, it's working fine from this angle, then, but not very well on the other. So we'll have to change and adapt along the way.
Got it. Yeah, that's actually really interesting insight to statues. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, it's great that it's representative of the game, but it's obviously got to be like a statue which doesn't look awkward from a certain angle, because people go crazy if they think something looks a bit weird or awkward. And that can make or break that the sales of that statue. So that's an awesome diorama. I don't think I've ever seen a Hugo statue, so that's going to be really exciting for people. Particularly the idea of Hugo and Alex facing off. I think that's one of the most famous moments from Street Fighter 3. Now, you also do artwork, right? So you started by giving away artwork with statues, which was just a really cool thing. I think you gave away, in Evil Ryu, you gave 2 or 3 art prints away. One of them was actually, the statue itself, and I think, and then the other 2 were like different variations of Evil Ryu. And you've also been recently selling limited edition artwork online by famous artists and so on. Can you talk about how that came about, why you do that, and then can you also talk about what's available and what's coming out?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we were actually freelancing before we sort of set up the studio. So even at that point when we were collaborating together, like I used to do the sculpture and Kit would do the concepts. When the sculpture would be done, Kit would do accompanying artwork to go with the statue. So it's sort of that. It's sort of what we sort of practiced before we set up the studio itself. So we sort of brought it over to our studio philosophy as well. Like we want to give our fans and collectors to not only have the statue, but also as a bonus, have an artwork. But of course, we didn't want to just give an artwork that looks like the statue. I mean, of course, they have the statue. Why would they need an artwork that looks exactly like it? So we sort of let artists. I mean, other than doing artwork ourselves, we actually let artists sort of represent themselves and how they see the character. So we don't restrict in terms of having the artwork reflect the statue pose in any way. So while it can be the same, like for Evil Ryu, our statue is about to throw a fireball. but the art print itself also is something similar where he's like conjuring the fireball. Um, but yeah, we don't really restrict the artist, or we don't have a philosophy where okay, the artwork has to match the statue. So it's just an artwork sort of inspired by the statue. And so once we were doing that, we sort of realized, hey, why not actually create limited edition artworks as well, which of characters maybe we won't have statues of, but people would love to have the artwork, just to collect and all that. So we started doing Street Fighter art prints, limited edition art prints, and also they are sort of very high quality, not just your regular prints on regular paper. They're sort of done on a museum quality grade archival paper. So if a fan is sort of enthusiastic about it and wants to frame it up and keep it in their home for display for a long time, these can last for generations. So yeah, so we sort of adapted what we used to give as which we still do give as a additional bonus with our statues. We are now offering special larger artworks for sale on our website, and of course we have new ones coming up very soon by
Can
more
can you
prominent artists.
can you just list the ones that you have for sale and the ones that they're coming up?
Sure. We started off with our Jury art print, which was done by Art Germ. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yes.
He's a good friend of ours, and actually, now that I mention it, actually we have something special coming up next year. We're doing something with him. I guess you have to stay tuned for that. And we have the Shadowloo Dolls artwork, which was done by a good friend of ours. He's quite talented. Um, and also we have the Chun-li artwork we have done by Sakimi-chan, who's one of the biggest artists in DeviantArt. Then also another Sea Viper print. And we have a couple more coming up, which is a print of Ingrid. I know it's an obscure character, well, we like to do obscure characters, so you can't
Well,
find it.
you're about to start a lot of Ingrid rumors in regards to Street Fighter Five.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and so you've
So,
got Ingrid,
and then we have one coming up for with all the grapplers. Well, the largest grapplers in Street Fighter, which involves Hugo, Alex, Zangief, and T-Hawk. So in a group together, it's a kind of an interesting print done by Brian Lee. So yeah, basically the prints are not only to create a variation of different characters, but also a variation in terms of all the different art, all the prominent artists out there, all the different styles, all the different representations. So we want to bring that together, under one roof. So yeah, that's sort of how we approach it.
I like that. I like. I know the more recent one, the Grapplers one, is very different style, but I think that's cool. Like having a different take on the characters and not just sticking to like the game design or whatever. So that's exciting. So what about the future? We've covered a lot here in regards to Street Fighter. What about the future for Kinetiquettes? So you currently have the Street Fighter license, and I guess I'm wondering, like, do you have anything you can tease or reveal about the future?
Yeah, well, we also have the Thundercats license, which we announced a while back. So I know a lot of people are asking us about that, but we're taking our time with it because, of course, Thundercats is kind of a niche, although it's quite classic. It's dear to our hearts, but we also know that it's kind of niche at the moment. But we're definitely going to release statues of them very soon. We've already put out the designs and the cool dioramas we have planned for that. So that one will be coming up next year. And in terms of new licenses, actually, we're going to announce something this week. We have a new Japanese game license that we actually teased a while back in a teaser trailer. and the actual announcement trailer will be released very soon. Um, and yeah, look forward to that. And of course, we have other licenses in mind that we hold very dear to our hearts, that we are in discussions with. So yeah, that I guess we'll probably can talk about when it's more concrete.
Okay. And then you also have a collaboration, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. So I can't say much now, but all I can say is we're in discussion with one of the biggest companies that work with the FGC in terms of bringing something very unique um, to not just collectors but the FGC fans and I mean fighting game fans. So I would say definitely look forward to that. It's definitely something new and unique.
See that? I like that. I like that because my mission is to get the collectors playing and the players collecting, and really try to bring the whole world of Street Fighter together, which you already did by giving Daigo a evil Ryu statue. So
Yeah, I
Daigo
mean,
is now Daigo is now technically a statue collector.
yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, we're definitely on the same page on that because we could have easily, promoted ourselves as a statue only to the statue community, but being fighting game fans and enjoying what the GC does, we want to be involved. We want to encourage people to sort of, hey, I like that Street Fighter character or whatever character that we do, and then maybe they will see um, our artwork, whether it's a statue or an art print, and maybe get into it, into collecting. So yeah, definitely we want collectors to be playing and players to be collecting as well. So yeah, definitely we're on the same page on that.
Expanding the world of Street Fighter. Um, so I guess like we've covered a lot today. I'm like super psyched to be able to, reveal that worldwide exclusive of the levitating bison on my channel. So thank you very much for that. And I guess where can people keep up to date with you? Where can they follow you? Where can they comment? Etc. What are some good places?
Well, I mean, other than the popular social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the main we also have our obviously our website where people can sign up for our newsletter and stay updated on the latest news and upcoming collectibles. So yeah, I mean, I would say go to kinetiquettes.com and stay tuned.
So at Kinetiquettes.com, they'll get this is important for people who don't already collect, just so they understand. These statues get pre-ordered, um, and and there's a pre-order date when the pre-order is up for announced. That will be what will happen is when you go to the website, you can sign up for a newsletter, and the newsletter will be an email which will keep you up to date when a pre-order is coming up, so you don't miss it, and don't feel like a year down the line when people get their statues, you're like, oh my god, how do I get this? So that's just for information for people who don't necessarily collect yet. Is there are there before we go? Is there anything else you want to say or any shout outs you want to make?
Yeah, well, I gotta say shout outs to the guys. I mean, they're a bit camera shy, but without them, Kinetiquettes wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't be where we are. So everybody on the team sort of plays a part. And while I'm talking to you, I'm just one guy with one face, and I'm just a small part um, of what Kinetiquettes does. So yeah, big shout outs to my team, Kit, Kelvin, Woon, yeah, and yeah. So I mean, we are young. Maybe we are not doing the right things, but we're always open to fan feedback and um, uh, whatever. We love to hear from the fans, and we want to be involved with the community. So feel free to tell us, be honest, and we hope to be around for a long, long time.
Yeah, well, I hope so too. And you're online all the time on Facebook and so on. So I know that you're very responsive to people, and also that you listen and make changes to prototypes and so on. It if it's deemed worthy criticism. Um, and the other thing I was going to say is that T-shirt is sick. But that's a Connecticut. Is that just the Connecticut? That's a Connecticut T-shirt, right?
Yeah, so I can't really show the whole T-shirt right now because it sort of spoils our announcement. Um,
Ah, really?
yeah,
That's
so this was a artwork that we did uh, just for the T-shirt itself, which we will actually be wearing to the event later this week, uh, Game Start Asia, where we're sponsoring the CPDA finals and also revealing, obviously Bison and the full Ken statue. Uh, we will actually be maybe we might actually make this T-shirt available for people to purchase if they want. So the T-shirt sort of represents the so-called licenses that we have. So obviously you can see Street Fighter here, but there's more like below, which will be revealed very soon.
and there's Sakura, who I really want to see in Street Fighter 5. Okay, great. Well, it's been awesome talking to you. And I can't wait to see more updates. And I'm hoping that everybody out there who's watching this goes to the website, signs up for the newsletter, or likes the Kinetiquettes page on Facebook, because you'll see a lot more information very quickly in regards to what the company is doing. So just want to say thank you. And
Thanks for your time.
I guess we should say goodbye to the fans. So peace out, guys.
All right, see ya.